Okay. So yeah.
You're good. You're good. Thank you, sir. So,
Okay, for sure. No worries. So let's call the meeting to order at 7:02, and we'll start with the pledge. If everybody wants to stand for the pledge. Do this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to
the
the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and
liberty and
justice for all.
justice for all.
Okay, great. And I'm going to just pull my agenda up here. While I'm getting the agenda open so that we don't have to wait for me to fumble around on here, does someone want to just tell me what the first thing is, and we'll go from there?
Public comments.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, public comments.
Are there any public comments tonight?
so if anybody in the attendees is looking to make a public comment, please raise your hand.
Isn't this working?
Oh, I think we just have one, which is Mary Jordan.
Okay.
Let me, Mary, just give me one moment. Okay, Mary, you should be good. And unmute yourself, or let me do it for you. Good.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of, this is Mary Jordan, 9 Mott Avenue, speaking from the NFT. And on behalf of the NFT, I would like to thank all those who've been engaged in the very challenging work of preparing for the reopening, examining and applying the various guidance documents, and really thinking about our local context is incredibly important and very challenging work. There are still many unanswered questions about how to keep people safe and exactly how to deliver instruction in this new context. There are many of our members who are really concerned still about reporting to work in the next few days. There are many uncertain and unanswered questions about new locations, unfamiliar routines, schedules, expectation technology. We are also facing serious childcare shortfalls, with different districts having different schedules, leaving some of our members with families scrambling. Many of our members have been required to change grade levels and are facing the new school year in a new grade level with new curriculum units to master, in addition to everything else. Some certified staff are still waiting for the specifics of their assignments. They're eager to get in their classrooms or learn where their classrooms are. Some are seeking information about accommodations, the possibility of remote teaching assignments, and the specifics of how to implement the very complex model of teaching 3 classes at once that the district has been recently presented to us. We're not aware of other of our Fairfield County neighbors using this type of model, and it is causing a good deal of anxiety. It appears that there are no remote teaching assignments and no accommodations for any of our members who have serious health concerns. This is related to at least some of the resignations, leaves of absence, and retirements that are listed. There are many of them on your board packet in the addendum this evening. We are also learning that although we spent the spring and summer learning Google Classroom, this appears to be getting phased out this year. We very much appreciate the town halls with information, and many are looking for written documentation to follow up. Some of us do not have the hours and hours during this week, last week of vacation time, last week to work with our families. So we don't have school or class schedules in many instances, and we're eager to meet with our new administrators and learn more. There is talk of the CEA asking for a 2-week delay in the start of the school year. The AFT today came out and recommended that we open remotely, not we specifically here in Norwalk, but if there is a district who is not prepared to open, they should seriously consider opening remotely in order to safeguard the students as a temporary measure until the buildings and the safety practices are in place. I think we have made a good deal of progress compared to some of our other neighbors. The NFT seeks a signed agreement to document the flexibilities and arrangements that provide reassurances of support and in support of the mutual goals that we have with the district for student achievement and health and safety. The NFT submitted a proposal on August 5th, and so far there has been no response to this document nor to its contents. I'm here this evening, among other things, to update you on things that we feel have gone well and things that were causing concern, but also very much to ask for your support to get a document signed. We had one for the spring pandemic closure, and we really do not have a contract that reflects the type of teaching and the type of arrangements that are required for opening school this fall. I would like to get a signed agreement in place before school starts. That's the end of my statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mary. So next, and there's nobody else for public comment, Ralph?
No, that was it.
Okay, so next we have the superintendent's report. And the first item in there is actually an update on the school reopening plan. So that's quite timely.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm
Hi.
going to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Mhm.
So just as an update around the school reopening process, we had all of the town halls with each elementary school, middle school, high school, as well as the Jefferson Overflow campus. We also had a town hall for special education parents, as well as multilingual learners and their parents. These town halls provided parents with insightful information about each school's individualized program, and it provided information in terms of the flow of the day and what programming would look like in each of the individualized schools, especially because depending on the size and structure of the building, certain accommodations were made to ensure that we not only adequately socially distanced our students, but created the best learning environment for them. So I just wanted to provide an update on that element. Also, the state provided an addendum around health and safety, and I want to provide an update on this piece. This piece really articulates in detail the processes that we will have to follow starting September 1st around the potential identification of someone that is symptomatic, as well as the processes that we would need to take in order to support that individual or student that might be identified as positive. So the addendum consists of a number of pages, and it provides detailed descriptions depending on the different what ifs scenarios that might occur within the school or before or after school. So I thought it would be important just to let the community know that these amendments are available. When the PowerPoint from our town halls are uploaded to the website, you will have this added component that was included to the PowerPoint from the town hall so that the families can have this information at their fingertips. Additionally, there were some questions in reference to the Jefferson annex that we wanted to address, particularly around safety. So one of the things that we uploaded to our website is the Osha report, and I will share that in a second. So this is the Osha report that is on the website. It is a very robust document talking about the air quality and environment at Jefferson. And this will address some of the concerns that the community has in terms of whether or not the Jefferson building is safe to have children. And I thought it would be very important for the community to have access to this document so that they can be at ease to know that the building is habitable and that we're making sure that the space is designed to ensure that we adequately socially distance our students, and that students within the different schools that will be participating in the annex will be in clusters, grouped together and in designated spaces. So even though there are different schools on site, they will not be commingling with one another, especially because we're maintaining them in cohorts. So I thought that would be an important update to provide on reopening. I'm just gonna ask Dr. Constanza to speak a little bit about the meetings that have been taking place with principals and the plans that are being designed to support reentry.
Do you mind if I ask just a quick clarifying question about the OSHA report? Because I feel like it will be the question on the top of everyone's minds, and I don't know that everyone will be able to get through all the data in the report if they just want this question answered. The ventilation in Jefferson is up to the same standards as the ventilation in the rest of our buildings, and we've addressed the filtration issue also.
Correct. The ventilations are up to date. The filtration issues were in the mobile classrooms. Those were also addressed.
Okay.
Ventilated and floors were replaced to address some of the concerns around humidity. Extra humidifiers were placed in that site just in case we need to use them. But at this point, we're not utilizing the mobile classrooms. We're only utilizing the main building. And like every other building, we have MER 10s that were placed in the filtration to filter the air in the central air conditioning units. And we are also going to have the HEPA filters, like I articulated during the town hall. The HEPA filters also will have UV light, because I know that was one of the things that some of the parents advocated for. So the same parameters and structures around ventilation and air quality have been applied at the Jefferson building as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can I just interject, Sarah, if you don't mind, just a quick thing before Frank presents? And thank you, Alex, for this thorough review and speaking about it. But I know you mentioned the OSHA report will be on our website. And before Frank delves into the town hall meetings with each respective school, I know many of the schools will be posting it on their website. And I know you had mentioned also, and
sorry,
they've done that. So, and also as an addition to that, I know you just spoke about it, but do you know when or how soon we'll be able to have that on our own website so families are easily can access all of the schools versus just their own? They can also go into our website and take a look at our forum and question and answer.
So the report, the actual presentations were being uploaded today. Okay. Ralph and Brenda, can you provide an update in terms of how the last time we spoke, there were 3 schools that we were still waiting for, but most of the schools were up.
Yep. No, there are.
Yeah, we also have the district PowerPoints are up on the website as of today. And we've got almost all of the school PowerPoints in, and they will be up tomorrow. So I'll turn it to Ralph for the YouTube videos.
Yeah, so for the YouTube videos, if you click on the reopening plan, you'll see a link to the playlist, and there's a playlist of all of the town halls are listed now.
Okay, that's great. I just want to make sure it's easily accessible for anyone that wants to take a look at it that wasn't able to actually be part of it. Mm-hmm.
And the OSHA report is actually listed as the OSHA report under for parents in the in our website as well.
And just so that you know, Columbus Elementary, they didn't record it by accident, so they created a new video that they will upload with the information to make sure that parents have access to it.
Excellent. Thank you. I just wanted to ensure that we had that taken care of. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So Frank, I'll turn it to you to speak about the reports.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, board members. As the superintendent spoke about just a few moments ago, the central office has been engaged with all of our principals throughout the district over the past several weeks, engaging in the development and design of their school reopening operating manuals. Myself, Sandra Fairways in operations have been working with each level of principals twice per week, anywhere from between 1 and 2 hours per meeting, going through each of the school's questions and sections of the reopening manuals. These manuals are quite similar to the district's full district-wide model for reopening, and they're customized to the particular intricacies of each school's campus and plant layout. And can't really say enough good things about the work the principals have done in just the last few weeks to prepare their schools for a safe reopening. Over the past couple of, I'd say 2 to 3 meetings, the focus has turned toward effectively communicating a health and safety reopening to families that are attending that particular school. And I, along with many other central office staff, had the opportunity to pop into these virtual town halls. If there's a silver lining in this pandemic, it's that you can get to a whole lot more meetings, school meetings, than you would in a traditional setting. And I got into 4 middle school meetings and a couple of others over the course of last night, and I was really impressed with, for the most part, the principals' delivery of some really complex information. As the superintendent shared earlier tonight, Addendum 5 from the State Department of Ed really speaks in great detail about the ways in which districts need to respond to potential COVID cases inside of a school. That takes some level of study and understanding, and I think that our school leaders have done really an exemplary job around that. The community has come together with very good questions out of a sincere sense of concern, but also optimism that their children are going to be returning to school. And I think one of the superintendent's really charges throughout this process has been for elementary students to be able to return to school in person every day throughout the day. That's really a testament to our work together as a district, knowing that this is the age level when students are learning how to read and really require that there's an adult physically with them at school. So we're proud of that work. It shines through in these operating manuals, and I'm happy to answer any questions related to this work.
Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? I feel like we've all been paying very close attention to all the details of the plans as you've been releasing them. Do we, Sherelle, do you have a question?
No, can you hear me?
Yes, there's a little bit of feedback.
You know what? I'll say that I can ask it later. I have 2 things going on, and I don't want to disturb it. It can wait.
Okie doke.
Thank you. Well, the last piece of the update that I want to the last piece of the reopening update that I want to provide is around special education. I know that Dr. Gurovich had an opportunity to speak to and present on the special education students' day in a life. And I know she's going to have a follow-up forum, and I would like her to speak to that.
Thank you, Superintendent Estrella. We had a robust 1-hour discussion yesterday. We had about 250 parents participating. This evening, we had an ad hoc SPED subcommittee of the board meeting and a follow-up. And as a result of some parent requests for more detail in a day in a life, really specifically looking at the what ifs of the situation of the complexity of an IEP. We will be having a Facebook Live event that we've been having weekly. This week it will be on Thursday, 5 to 6:30, and we'll be joined by our SPED PAC exec committee, our parents and staff, to delve deep into a day in the life of a student with a disability as we reopen schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last piece around the reopening update that I will provide is that next week on August 31st, right before school, I'm just going to have a town hall for students in middle school and high school, just to kind of reassure them around reopening, but also to hear some of their feedback that we can then utilize as some of the conversation that we can then engage our staff and support them around some of the SEL work that we will have to do to kind of reacclimate our kids back to the classroom. So I'll keep you posted in terms of the information and time and location for that. Now I'm going to switch over to our communications protocol. We had an opportunity during the board retreat to have conversations around how we were going to streamline communication. And I added to the board packet the document with some revisions as a draft for us to take a final look at before we decide if we're going to be if we're going to go forward with these agreements. But most importantly, as we continue to redesign the lateral referral process, one of the documents that you will see in the packet is a piece around the lateral referral and really supporting our families and staff to understand when a concern arises, what does a lateral referral look like, to ensure that if it, by the time it gets to central office, we will have protocols in place to make sure that the lateral referral has been followed, but then most importantly, that if it has been followed and supports have not been provided, that we make sure that the concerns are addressed. So one of the things that I'm working with Mr. Valencisi, Ralph, is to design, we're looking for a platform that we can utilize, that we can track the concerns that are brought to our attention. And then we can provide, as part of our weekly report, updates of some of the trends and patterns that we're seeing in the district, but then most importantly, that we can effectively monitor that work. So a member of our team, actually 2 members will split the role of making sure that that communication is being streamlined and that there is an active process of response when concerns are brought forward by our parents or any other constituents in the system. So I'm just going to share my screen again to bring forward the document once again, and ask the board if there are any additional questions that we need to further discuss as it relates to the document, and how we would like to proceed in terms of finalizing this piece.
I just have, this is very helpful, I think, especially to those of us who are relatively newer on the board, and even for some of the more legacy members. I think some of these protocols have not been, as well codified in the past. So this is a really great way to say, here's the protocols we're all going to use. I think I just wanted to ask, I think we had also discussed having like a short, like FAQ version that we could maybe share with the wider school communities, parents and other constituents, so that they, have a stronger sense of how the communication protocol works. So is that, something that we could put together as we consider and approve this plan?
So in your board packet, you will have the lateral referral document as requested.
Yeah.
I'm having an issue uploading it to my device, but you have a copy of it. It's the second document following this one. And it articulates the lateral referral, starting with the teacher, moving to like the guidance counselor, assistant principal, and then the central team. It also has a piece around bullying, because I know a lot of parents have been concerned about how do we as a system address concerns around bullying. So there's also a lateral referral for that component as well. And it was basically taken from a document that was already in existence in the district. We just modified it to include the new structure that we currently live under, to ensure that everybody had the right contact list of who they would contact for the different concerns. And it's in the packet.
Yeah, perfect. I saw that. So great. So that would be something that we could be able to post online and share with different
Correct.
school communities. Yeah.
So once we identify the platform that we will be using, we're looking at a few. Once that platform is identified, then we can create and have an official announcement sent out with the actual platform link and all of those resources for the community to have access to, with the letter of referral. And I think I will have maybe a mini session with the community at large, just going over the document and the process, so that we're all clear in terms of how communication will flow.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Why do we delineate going to the assistant principal and then the principal? And does that include CISD for the elementary level?
They would include CISDs.
What? Okay. So is that new to our procedure, and what's the thinking behind that? Because I think usually these things go teacher to principal. I've never heard the assistant principal as being a step in the process.
So in the prior guidance that the district had in some of the prior manuals, they had the assistant principal as a member of the letter of referral. If the board feels that that element should be eliminated and only have it go from teacher to principal, that is something we can definitely address. But I know that the assistant principal is a support to the principal, so we were thinking that would be the first step, and then the principal will be the final step in the building. But it's something that we can, if the board feels needs to be modified, we can always modify.
I would just say, I think that it makes a lot of sense for the assistant principals to be a step in middle and high school. And I think Barbara's point about CISDs having a slightly different role is something you could, you guys can have that discussion, and I trust what you would come up with about it.
So we can always make the adjustment that for middle and high school, it would be the assistant principal, and for elementary, it would be straight moving into from teacher to principal.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
If I could comment as well, I would just like to reiterate, Colin's comments and say that I do fully support this plan as well. And I believe during our tenure as board members, we can demonstrate and model the difference between being engaged and, quite honestly, being a distraction. Taxpayers have given us this responsibility of oversight, and I'll use myself as an example and say that no taxpayer is looking for a digital media professional to run their public schools. So I'm happy for it to be left up to the experts, and I believe that we have chosen wisely in our superintendent search, and I feel strongly that we should give the professionals the space they need to do their job. So I'm just very thankful that this is being put together and socialized as a reminder of what the roles and responsibilities are to not only us, but also to the public. So thank you.
Erica, I think that's a really good point. And I also think that having clarity of procedure around communication is possibly the most important thing that you can have as any kind of organization of people. So I think this is really great. There won't be assumptions, there won't be expectations that aren't in line with what is actually happening. Clear, direct communication between and among the people to whom it is germane is really good. So good. Sorry, I lost my thread a little bit there, but I'm positive about this.
Thank you. So I think if it's okay with the board, I will move this in September to an action item for final approval.
For sure.
And we will make those modifications. I'll send an updated draft, obviously prior to, for board comment and review. And I'll do it in a way that it could be, you can add notations so that we can then finalize the document and have it ready for action.
That's great.
And just to conclude, I just want to thank everyone. I know between now and the next session, we will be transitioning over to, we will be already in school, and I'm looking forward to an amazing start of the school year. I know we have a lot of work to do, but we will make sure that we will get things done to finalize contracts, agreements, as well as the space and programming so that our students have a safe return back to school. And I just want to thank the community for trusting us and making sure this work is done and it's done well. I'll turn it over to the Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Estrella. And actually, before we move into the next agenda item, I'm not exactly sure procedurally how to handle this, but we had someone who had signed up for public comment by email earlier in the day, but then when they logged into the Zoom, it was past the period of public comment. So Ralph, is that person still here?
Yes, I believe so. And her, Linda, would you just raise your hand if you still plan on doing any public comment? Okay, yes, she did.
Okay, so I think it makes sense to offer the opportunity for public comment now if no one objects.
Okay, great. And Linda, you can unmute yourself. Thank you. You're good.
Am I audible?
You sure
Yes,
are.
yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening. This is somewhat related to all the work you're doing right now on reopening, but a little bit off the main track. But I wanted to bring it up anyway. Back in May, the grading system was changed from standard letter to pass-fail. I think it was a great way to help the students whose grades had suffered during quarantine through no fault of their own. But not everybody's grades dropped. And I think pass-fail is not a one-size-fits-all solution. And so I would like to ask the board to rescind that mandatory change made last May and instead offer pass-fail as an option, in particular to the high school students for whom transcripts are probably more important than middle and elementary. In support of that, I can say that over the last couple of months, I've spoken with maybe half a dozen of the state colleges and guidance counselors, all of whom have said, you know, transcripts are accepted in varied formats and we can handle basically anything. Rutgers, my alma mater, sadly said that they would accept a student created record of grades. So I don't even know what that means, but in any event, what would happen if they said is if they saw a change in a grade maybe halfway through a year, it might raise a question, at which point they might pick up the phone and call the school. And I worry a little that we leave a lot of that to the chance that someone would actually do that and reach someone who knows the student, who can then talk about extenuating circumstances. And in my case, it's 2 or 3 years off already. And at that point, who knows? I mean, COVID may be a distant memory, or we might still be living with it. So it's difficult to predict how much consideration would actually be given to it at that point. There is an old song, a very old song. I think it was written in the 40s. And I remember hearing it on Sesame Street. And the lyrics were, you've got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between. And I think that is apropos because we have job bound and college bound students who are starting to pull together the list of the things that they have done that make them stand out. And the kids who kept their A's and B's should get to accentuate that positive. And those who lost ground through no fault of their own should be able to eliminate that negative. Pass-fail helps them, but it doesn't necessarily help the others. And I do feel that all of them are equally deserving of the best possible support Norwalk can give them. Just FYI, Stanford kept letter grading in place and Greenwich went ahead and gave the kids a choice. Not surprisingly, most of Greenwich chose to remain with letter grading. Not to say that these cities are anything like Norwalk, but to me, it just indicated that the numeric grading system has not been eliminated even when kids were given the choice. So Norwalk now has a mandatory pass-fail that helps some students, but it's been imposed on all of them. And meanwhile, the standard letter grading system, while it could help everyone else, it's been eliminated. So I hope I've made it clear why I think this policy fulfilled one goal for some while kind of making things a net neutral or arguably worse for the others. So just to conclude, I'm asking reinstate the standard letter grading system, go back to last semester, and instead of pass-fail for all, make it an option. And I think by doing so, Norwalk will be giving all the kids rather than some, maybe, their best foot forward. Thank you for taking the comments out of order.
Madam Chair, before Linda, before you unmute, can you just announce your address too? I'm sorry. And your name.
My
Name and address, just for the record, yes.
Oh, it's Linda Rowley. You want my mailing address?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 192 Big Oak Road in Stamford, Connecticut.
Okay. Thank you. And I don't know if we want to take a quick second just to address that letter grades are available for students who request them. That credit was awarded on a pass-fail basis. I'm saying that correctly. Is that right?
Sarah?
Yes.
Okay. Grades are available. Power School did not close down and did not erase any grades, GPA, or anything like that. When we voted on it, it was late in the year, so Power School was up and running. Any family that requests a transcript update, they can put it in as an addendum to their college application. So there was a lot of thought and a lot of research into this. I myself have a senior this year, so we asked a lot of questions and we felt that this is the best way to make it equal for everyone in Norwalk, and for those that want to take the extra step to be able to give the colleges to show them how good they're doing and their GPA and ranking, that is all still available.
That's what I had thought. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't being incorrect. Yeah.
Thank you. I was unaware. So in other words, the transcript will contain the letter grade and the numeric GPA. Is that what
if you request to have that
Correct.
information attached to the transcript, it can come attached to the transcript from the district. So it's official and everything. It just needs to be requested.
And so who should I address that request to? The principal or?
I think that would be the place to start. Okay.
Thank you guys.
For sure. Okay. So now we can move on to our actions, item 5. So we have our consent calendar with our approval of personnel and our approval of budget transfers. And I think that if there's no objections, that we can address those both as one motion. Is that okay with everybody? May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? Barbara, may I have a second? Diana, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion. All in favor? Aye.
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 Seems unanimous to me, except Erica. Did I see you? Are you approving?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, that passes unanimously. And then we have item 3 under actions. May I have a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with the NFT regarding Article 14, reduction in force. Sorry, I forgot how to read Roman numerals for a second. May I have a motion? Heidi, second. Diana, is there any discussion? Okay, finding no discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
This also appears to be unanimous.
Aye.
Mike? Oh,
Aye.
oh, okay, thank you. Okay, item 4, we have a motion. May I have a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with the NFT regarding teachers' no contracts? Motion by Erica, second by Godfrey. Any discussion here? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 4, 5.
Aye.
Excellent. Actually, you know what? Instead of trying to
Aye.
count you, I'll just say, are there any opposed? Okay, nobody is opposed. So that also passes unanimously. Number 5, may I have a motion to approve the Healthcare Employees Union AFSCME AFL-CIO contract for September 1st, 2019 to August 31st, 2022. Motion by Barbara, second by Diana. Any discussion here?
I just have to add very quickly how grateful I am to our nurses and medical professionals for the work they did in the spring to do tracing and the summer school to keep our kids safe, and for the work they're embarking upon with the reopening. Thank you to all of them.
Yes, 100%. Thank you. All the thank yous. Erica, do you want to say something too? Go ahead.
No, that was my thank yous.
Oh,
Hmm.
good. That's good. Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. That also passes unanimously. Now we have item 6, which is approval of the revised NPS 2020-2021 school year calendar. May I have a motion?
Before you pass the motion, can I
Oh,
say
yep.
something, Madam
Yeah,
Chair?
of course.
So there's 2 holidays that we want to incorporate that are missing. That's Juneteenth and the Pride Day. So we will be adding those. I know that there's no need for approval for those, but I just wanted to put it on the record that those are 2 holidays that we want to make sure the community is aware of.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll have a motion, and then if there's any discussion by the board, we can do that. May I have a motion? Heidi, may I have a second? Diana, any discussion? Barbara?
Thanks. I suspect it's much too late to address it at this point, given that many people have probably, if they're going to travel, have booked that travel. But I do have a concern, given the economy and the pandemic, that families will not be able to go anywhere warm in March, and that it might be a kindness to have our break in April. So I thought I would raise that with my colleagues to see if there was any interest in reconsidering.
Does anyone want to discuss that now?
Do we have the time to table it, to revisit it with the NFT and the teachers?
I think so. I think that is a sensible choice if there's discussion to be had about it.
Sarah?
Yeah.
I'm not sure why the teachers would be the driver to when we chose to have on vacation, but if you recall this year in Fairfield County, I know, we did do some work, and I think something like a third of our teachers with children live outside of our district. But this week, there were 2 different weeks in April that districts had. So I think the idea that it's always a consistent week, that's already been broken.
Yeah. I think it's something that we can table for the moment and talk about because I think that no one was expecting to have this conversation this evening also. So let's put that to the side for the moment, and let's vote on approving adding the 2 holidays to the calendar as a revision, and then we can revisit that when
Great.
we're prepared to revisit it. Okay, so is there any other discussion? Okay. All in favor of revising? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. I'm glad that we are including those two holidays in particular. Now we have item 7, approval of 2020-2021 board workshop topics. May I have a motion for that? Erica, second. Barbara, any discussion of that? This would be one of the items I would have expected discussion, but that's okay. Okay. If there's no discussion, then all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that one passes unanimously as well. Okay, and then we have item 8, which is an approval of addendum to agreement with ESS Northeast LLC, which is providing our substitute services in many areas for this year. May I have a motion, Barbara? May I have a second? Sherelle, any discussion? Any questions? All good? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that passes unanimously too. Wonderful. Okay. So now we can move into item 6, which is information and reports. And the first letter there is June 2020 financial reports. So Tom, are you somewhere down there?
Yes,
see
I
you.
am. Good evening, board members. You have in your packet the year-to-date financial report as of June 30th. Obviously, the end of June is the end of our fiscal year. And so what's been presented to you was the report we ran as of April 7th. I'm sorry, not April 7th, August 7th. We have been obviously working very diligently to get the fiscal year closed. And I'm happy to report that actually tonight, as we speak, the city controller is rolling the fiscal year. So we're moving from period 12 to period 13. And so that's very good news. Essentially signifies that we have paid all of our old year bills at this point and have final end of year numbers. So I'll just talk about those briefly, although you don't have them in front of you, but I can speak to them. So the packet that you do have shows total expenses of $195.4 million for the year, representing having spent 96.6% of the budget. And the numbers that we're closing out with are at $197.1 million for the year, representing 97.5% of the budget. So at this point, the district has identified or has $904,000 worth of carryover purchase orders, as well as a reservation of funds for the unsettled nurses contract, which you just approved and settled. So there's $904,000 that gets added to that 197 million, bringing us to total expended and encumbered funds of $198,018,189. So it represents total expenditures for the year of 97.9% of the budget, and leaves a unexpended amount of just under $4.2 million, or about 2.1% of the budget. Now, from that $4.2 million, and we shared this information with the Finance Committee last week. So from that $4.1 million, we are anticipating requesting that the city carry over at least $1.5 million, which was the amount needed to balance our budget for 2020-21. We are anticipating repaying the city $1 million, representing the special ELL appropriation. You may recall from earlier last fiscal year, the city did approve a special appropriation to the Board of Education to cover expenses related to the influx of EL students and the need to increase some staffing in that area. So we would anticipate reimbursing the city, if you will, for that $1 million. And then it leaves on top of that an amount of $1,687,000. So that amount will, is still available to determine how those funds, should be applied. Just to talk about in terms of how we ended the year, first of all, turning back 2.1% of the budget is actually a rather tightly balanced budget overall, given the many different moving parts that are part of any budget development process. Involves a whole host of assumptions. And for this past year, unlike any other, I think many of those assumptions were pretty much thrown out the window with COVID-19. But we did experience some turnback in some areas or under expenditure in some areas because of the fact that we had to move to full distance learning in mid-March through the end of the school year. And we've talked about this before, there was turnback in some of the wage accounts because of the fact that some vacancies, we weren't filling vacancies after we went out. There was turnback in some substitute accounts because obviously we weren't hiring daily subs when we were in remote learning. There was turnback in some of the certified hourly accounts, which are used for things like professional development and curriculum writing and other activities that couldn't take place in the COVID-19 environment. And there were stipends also where there was some turnback. So there was turnback in several areas in the wage accounts. We also had some turnback in some of the other professional and technical service areas. There we budget field trips. Obviously, we weren't taking field trips in the spring, so there was turnback in field trips. There was turnback in other professional services related to some consulting services for the district. There was turnback, a small amount of turnback in out-of-district tuition in the special education area, probably more related to the fact of that the district, as you know, has over the last number of years built many robust in-district programs so that we have fewer children that we're required to send out of district. So we have some savings in that area. There was some savings in travel because obviously employees were not attending conferences and other professional development. So there were some savings there. Some of our supply accounts as well in the schools and central office had some savings. We've spoken in the past about some of the utility accounts, electricity and heating oil and natural gas, because the buildings were shut down in mid-March. We had some savings in all of those areas. So when you add all of that up, what it came down to was a turnback of 2.1%. Typically, I think the year before we had a turnback of about 1.5%. So it was a little bit higher than traditionally we might have because of the fact we were in this really unique situation for the latter half of the year. So I don't know if there's any questions on the financial report. Happy to try to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Tom, just to provide some update for the board, if you don't mind, Madam Chair. We're still waiting for the state to provide us with an update in terms of the funding necessary to run our program under the new COVID guidelines. So we're supposed to get a final update yesterday. We still haven't received anything today, so we're still waiting on additional information. I just wanted to provide that perspective. And Mr. Hamilton and I have been talking about potentially looking to see whether the additional funds that are available, I think is around 1.5 million, a little bit more, Hopefully we will be able to roll that over in addition to the 1.5 million that we had previously discussed as well to support with some of the COVID expenses. So I'm looking forward to having a really productive conversation with the Common Council, the BET and the mayor, so that we can have a little bit of like wiggle room in terms of funding, given all the additional expenses that setting up air quality and all these other factors we needed to take into account. So I just wanted
Madam
to
Chair.
just articulate that because I know we're still awaiting further guidance on that piece.
For sure.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to the Board of Ed and to Mr. Hamilton. It was a very good budget report, a good budget year-end report. We're encouraged and we're also committed, as you know, and we've made this comment over and over again, to work with the Board of Ed to determine how we can perhaps carry over more funding or whatever we can do to support your operation. And certainly that 1.5 million. I know Dr. Estrella and I think with Lamont Daniels are having lunch tomorrow. And we can talk about those kinds of things, but just know that the Board of Estimate, the people that I've spoken with, and certainly the Common Council and my staff are here. We're here to listen. We're here to work with you and try to work through this together. This is something nobody anticipated. We know there's going to be additional costs. Thankfully, our city has a very, very healthy fund balance, and we can have those conversations, I think, in a favorable light. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Oh, I appreciate that so much, and we all appreciate your support and your leadership and the collaborative relationship that has been begun and fostered with Dr. Estrella as she's come in. Does somebody have something happening on speaker there?
Sorry.
That's okay. Anyways, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very, very happy about that. Okay, where are we now in terms of, that's the financial report and questions.
I think it's the committee,
comments.
the committee report. I'm sorry,
committee
yeah.
and representative reports for sure. So not all of the committees have met, I know. What committees have met? Finance met? Barbara, do you want to go?
Sure. Finance had a very unusual August meeting. The members of the committee felt it was important both for us and for the community to understand how costs were shaping up, how closeout of 2019-20 was going, and what we might be able to roll over. So we're very grateful to Tom Hamilton and his staff for providing a lot of background information to help us understand the challenges ahead in a very unusual year. I think the big question mark will be how much funding we can expect from the state and whether there will be any funding from the federal level. So that's what everybody's sort of got their eyes on at this point. But thank you again, Mr. Mayor, for your excellent support and cooperation as we manage the challenges ahead.
Okay, thanks, Barbara. Erica, I know your committee met earlier this evening. Do you want to go?
We did. The ad hoc spec committee met earlier, and as Yvette spoke about earlier, we had a conversation regarding the upcoming RFP, which we had to table because of COVID, and will be kicked off at the end of August or early September with a goal of presenting to the larger board in February next week in advance of budget season. We also did a review of the Q&A coming out of the SPED forum, which is available on YouTube. It was a separate breakout that took place yesterday at 4 o'clock. And we had a review of the NSPED PAC and what they're up to and what they're doing. And one of the more lovely things that they're doing for the community is on a regular basis hosting Facebook Lives, where they get to have a more intimate conversation with our parents and answer questions on hot topics.
That's
Would
great.
you like me to do athletics, or you want to come back to liaison?
Well, we're on you. You might as well.
Okay, so the hot topic of athletics is fall sports, and there is still ongoing conversations between the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference and various state agencies and stakeholders regarding the status of fall sports. Both high school athletic directors, Doug Marchetti and John Cross have been working hard over the summer to work through protocols as it relates to conditioning, as well as returning to play. They're working on things like facilities and equipment and schedules and transportation, screening and sanitizing. And what is not known right now is how we'll handle spectators. That's an ongoing conversation. What's also very fluid is the conversation around football and girls volleyball, more specifically, as those are high risk sports. We know football has already been pushed back to September 24th, but they are kicking off conditioning as planned with all the protocols that John and Doug have put into place. So we should hear more about that next week, but I'll just reiterate what is going on today. Will probably change tomorrow. So we'll just keep close to that. And that's it for athletics.
For sure. Thank you so much, Erica. Heidi, has policy met or no?
I want to make sure that I'm not on mute. No, we haven't. When we originally had our meeting set, unfortunately, that was the storm. And many of us lost power, including myself, so we couldn't. So we will be having our meeting September 1st. I do want to add, I hope everybody is safe and well. I don't know if we even brought up the storm this evening to talk about it, but I know many people lost power. We were out for over 5 days, and I know it was even worse for many others. So I'm glad everybody is up and running, and most importantly, everybody is safe. And I also want to thank the mayor personally as well, that I know that he worked diligently throughout this process to really help out and make sure that families again were well.
You're very
Thanks,
welcome.
Heidi. Yeah, that was a
doozy.
It was a doozy. I know that's the word I was thinking too. It sure was. Okay. Sherelle,
Yeah,
did
I think
curriculum
very
meet?
challenging for many.
Oh, sorry, Heidi. Sherelle, did curriculum meet or did you postpone? I forget. I think curriculum was postponed.
Postponed.
I think they were
Postponed.
too.
Okay. Policy curriculum facilities did not meet. And I think that's it for committees. So now we can go to board member announcements. If anyone has anything pressing that they'd like to announce, Barbara, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to circle back to the liaison reports. So Norwalk Acts has engaged a group called Thought Partners in a 12-month consulting contract to recenter race equity within their work. They've been working closely with Godfrey Azima and Lamont Daniels from the city side to make sure that our efforts around racial justice work align and complement one another. Norwalk Acts has provided Dr. Estrella with a draft of a dashboard that disaggregates school discipline, and we'll meet with her next week to finalize. And they plan to follow up with these pieces and introduce Thought Partners at their next quarterly convening on Tuesday, September 15th from 9 to 11 a.m. So please join that if you are interested. They are working to offer the same professional development that Norwalk Public Schools staff will receive via the Mid-Fairfield Child Guidance regarding student mental health and wellness to out-of-school time providers. And we hope that will happen at the end of this month. They've been helping coordinate and staff the information hubs at the mobile food sites and are currently working to secure funding to get the school-based health centers open a week or two early to help with the backlog and school physicals necessary for students to start back. The library pop-up truck has been also doing visits to the school, the food distribution sites, and people can visit them. And Family and Children's Agency is offering support for families impacted by COVID, especially mental health support. The PTOC reports that they were able to get some refund from their insurance costs for events last year that were unable to be held in the spring. They've reviewed their finances and have about $3,000 that they'll disperse amongst the school PTOs that need it the most. PTOs have until August 26th to apply for that funding if they feel that they need it. I know PTOs across the city are exploring virtual fundraising, including mask fundraisers. Tracy School has a wonderful new project where they created stencils of outdoor games for play areas that other schools can rent and use. And I do want to urge families who are in a position to do so to support your PTOs. Many of the PTOs missed their spring big fundraisers, so they will need extra support if you are able to give it. The Norwalk Education Foundation's 5th Classroom Innovation Grants Shark Tank is open for applications through August 28th. So if your student is interested in making a proposal, they can send it to info@norwalkeducation.org. They will be holding their O'Neill's 5K will be virtual in September. I think it's September 17th, and you can register online. They're hoping to hold the screenings for Screenager this fall. And in order to address high levels of anxiety in our students, NEF is bringing mindfulness and meditation training to middle schools and high schools this fall as well. Okay, I think that's it.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Ms. Harris asked me to present on her behalf because she's having connectivity issues.
Okay, for sure.
So in partnership with NPS and Norwalk Public Libraries, we are collaborating to form pods throughout the city to provide opportunities for students that have connectivity limitations to have access to a safe place to come and engage in their schoolwork during the days where they're engaging in distance learning. We're looking in collaboration with the Norwalk Libraries to host 12 students at each site with an educator on site to support those students as needed. We came up with this idea because we noticed that depending on the different socioeconomic dynamics of different students, some students were having these opportunities at home, and as a way to equalize things around the community, we wanted to create these opportunities. We will be meeting on Thursday alongside Dr. Case from Curriculum and Instruction to talk further about this plan and how we can ensure that it is robust in its development to support all of the NPS scholars that participate. And the scholars that will participate are middle school and high school students.
That's great, Dr. Estrella. Thank you so much. And actually, after, if any other board members have announcements, we should say a word of welcome to Dr. Case also. Do any other board members have any announcements or things that they want to share? Going once.
Just wanted to give a special acknowledgement to the youth from Norwalk that participated in the annual STEM convention. Due to COVID, it was a lot of transitions that we didn't have time to acknowledge just the wealth of amazing things the kids did from Norwalk. So I just wanted to make sure to give that light and share that acknowledgement. And I look forward to the next meeting to congratulating all our recent graduates after we have all the ceremonies taking place as well.
For sure.
Okay, Sarah?
Yeah.
On that note, I want to thank all the high school students actually that have been volunteering with Norwalk Mutual Aid here in Norwalk. They've been putting in a lot of hours and delivering meals to local families right here in Norwalk that have lost their jobs and families that just need dinner on the table. It's very heartwarming to see these young children, I should say students, that are taking the time out of their schedule to help others. It's very humbling to see too. And on a different note, I am one of the new board members on the Mid-Fairfield AIDS Project in Norwalk. So I'll be looking into how to spread that word to families and students.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work that you've been doing with Norwalk Mutual Aid. I love to see all the posts that you put on Facebook. It's one of the things that I see on Facebook that makes me happy. I'm like, hey. Does anyone else have any other announcements? Okay.
Can I just acknowledge
Sure.
someone?
Yes, of course.
First, Ms. Harris just said that she applauded us in the work around the pods. But also just wanted to give a special thank you to Dr. Brenda Myers for all the work she did in curriculum and instruction. Her last day is the 31st. And wanted to give a special welcome to Dr. Sandy Case as she's supporting the department during the transition. I just thought it would be important to thank the work, Brenda, Dr. Myers for the work she's done, and just make sure we welcome Dr. Case into the new role. So thank you for that moment.
For sure, of course. And I actually am going to jump on your moment and say that I would also like to say thank you to Dr. Myers and to wish her well. The shift that we had to make to distance learning in March would not have been possible without her hard work and her leadership. And so we're very fortunate to have had her with us for that time. And I also would like to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Case, whom I had the pleasure of speaking with last week, and who I'm very excited to have her help as we, chart our course in whatever the heck is happening to us. So would anyone else like to add anything there? Okie doke. Does that take us to the end of our agenda? I lost my, we got, do we have to approve our minutes? Yeah.
We have approval of minutes. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to do something that I hope is okay. If there are any significant corrections, it will not work. But if there aren't, I thought we could take them as a batch. What?
I have another announcement from Sherelle.
Oh, of course.
So she wanted us to state that she is working with myself and Eliza Manning and looking
Elijah Manning, yeah.
Elijah Manning, sorry about that. And looking forward to exploring new curriculums that will be a little more reflective of actual history.
For sure. I also had the pleasure of talking to Mr. Manning a couple of times about having our curriculum in all of our different disciplines reflect an inclusive picture of how the world actually was, including positive representations of all of the different people that live in Norwalk and all of the different perspectives that exist in the narratives of history that we know. So I'm very pleased about that also. Okay. If there are significant corrections to the minutes, we can't do them as a batch. But if there are not significant corrections or alterations, we could approve them as a batch. Are there any significant alterations?
Sarah, I have 4, 1 each. So I think they're small enough that it would be easy enough to do it as a batch.
Okay, then let's do that. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes from June 2nd, June 16th, and from the retreat as a batch, and then we can offer all of our corrections as we do. So may I have that motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Godfrey, second Heidi, and now discussion or corrections.
Okay, so I had a minutes in there from 519, which you didn't list.
It's not on the agenda, but that's okay.
I don't know how I got it. It was in the packet. Okay, so July 23rd, page 2, it should be in the paragraph about Erica, it should say Norwalker, not no Walker. And she instead of shoe. And then July 24th, paragraph, page 5, paragraph 3, the last word says R, it should be area. July 25th, page 4, paragraph 2. It should be amended to say the research regarding statistics show that 20% of students have dyslexia, but that isn't reflected in our IEP statistics. That would be the edit. And that's it.
Great. Thank you, Barbara. Does anybody have any other corrections or anything about the minutes? We're all good? Okay. All in favor of approving those 3 sets of minutes? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okie doke. So those pass unanimously. And with that, I think we do come to the end of our agenda, unless anyone has anything else that they would like to say. Heidi.
Yeah, if I could just add in quickly, I'm thinking for kind of looking ahead, September 1st, obviously it's a big day. And when we have our next meeting, Dr. Estrella, if you wouldn't mind in the beginning of the meeting or at some point, just to kind of give an update, because at that point, we're going to kind of have a little bit of a flavor, a little bit of a feel of what's going on with our schools. But I think it would be beneficial if we kind of start our meeting just giving an update how things have gone for the first day.
Our meeting, you mean the board meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in that's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Perfect.
Madam Chair, negotiations, I think are an item that needs approval.
Oh, did we miss something?
Oh, let's look.
I don't have any other items on my agenda. Can you
I don't have
point
it
me
either.
towards it?
Frank, do you want to address?
Yeah, no, I think it was a committee that got missed when you were doing updates. I'm not in that committee. I'm not sure if it met or not.
Okay.
Negotiations and personnel has met only to hear grievances, and they were all held in executive session. So,
Okay.
yeah. So no public update about that.
Thank you.
For sure. Okay. Now are we at the end of our agenda? Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn? Heidi, second. Barbara and Erica both. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I think this was a wonderful, informative meeting, and thank you, Dr. Estrella and team and everybody, and Tom and Dr. Costanzo for all of your hard work, and Yvette. Onward.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.